Hi, I'm Rob, this is Gems of War. In this video I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think is good and bad in the Soulforge. What's worth crafting and what's worth avoiding more than a Vindaloo straight after you've had a whole tin of prunes, a rhubarb crumble and 6 packets of Mentos. Anyway, first things first, what I always recommend on a Monday is you pop into the shop and grab the new weekly Glory Troop. This one is Flaming Skeleton. Let's see what it does. Give my first impression on this flaming thing. Deals magic plus 3 damage to an enemy and converts 3 red gems to burning gems. The traits are burn enemies when doing skull damage, undying, being immune to poison, disease, lycanthropy and deathmark, and fireproof, immune to burning and fairy fire. Alright, so the traits are nothing fantastic. So obviously the main thing about this is the burn element of it. The damage is pretty low, and then converting 3 red gems to burning gems. Obviously this is designed to work in some sort of team where burn is obviously an element to do extra damage and things like that. So there's plenty of other troops that do a similar kind of thing. It's not that great. 11 mana cost is about right, I suppose, for this kind of thing. But first impression on this, I would say, is just I was thinking 5 out of 10, but it's not that good. I think 4 out of 10. So just collect it anyway. Just grab as many as you can. If you can get it all the way up to Mythic, then absolutely do so, because then you'll have enough to get the thing boosted up to level 20, which aids your power levels in your kingdoms. And whilst you're here, you can pop across to Spoils of War as well and grab the maximum amount of them if you can. Gives you more event keys, more gold and more souls. So if you've got glory hanging around, may as well use it. Right, let's go on to the Soulforge itself. And first things first, let's take a look at the new weapons which are here. I've gone over all these curse breaker ones in a previous video. And all these ones that are here all the time, I'm not going to go over again as well, because again, they are in previous videos. Doomed Scythe is not here all the time though. Deals 3 plus magic damage to all enemies, plus 1 per tempering level, and then converts yellow to doom skulls. And if the enemy has a doom, create 5 more. Gain 3 mana for each purple enemy. So these are great weapons. I do like them a lot. The only thing about them is to get the most out of that mana gain, you do have to be fighting a predominantly purple enemy. But the reason I like these though is because the damage is a set amount. You can kind of see what's going to happen. 35 in this case damage to all enemies is pretty good. But the thing I like about it the most is to convert yellow gems to doom skulls. You can clearly see whether you're going to get a 4 match on them, whether you're going to get any skull hits on that before you cast it. It's not like even the other ones where they create a mix of skulls and a certain colour sort of thing for each whatever colour troop on the other side. I really like these ones that convert. You can actually see 100% if they're going to work or not and how well they're going to work before you cast. So that's really cool. Uses purple, 18 mana cost, and yeah, I do actually like these weapons an awful lot. Wall of Oblivion. Steal all of an enemy's armor, and if an enemy is a boss, steal deathmark all other enemies. And it's interesting. This could be a really good weapon in some really high level delves where the armor is massive on the enemy. You'll just steal all of that in one go and add it to your own, which will give you a hell of a lot of life. So potential on that one. The enemy is a boss, deathmark all other enemies. So designed to be fought against bosses as well. Looking at the second part of that spell, fairly decent and interesting enough to warrant consideration. These ones are there all the time. These ones aren't. No. Bloodkeeper. Deal magic plus 4 damage to an enemy, boosted by purple and undead allies. So another one of these ones which is more collectible than anything. It's pretty low damage, and you do need purple and undead allies on your team to get more out of it. A boost ratio of ×3, but yeah, certainly not essential, that one, in any way, shape or form. Axe of Leeching. Deals damage to an enemy boosted by Galvania allies. So you need Galvania team, basically, to make the most of this. Then create a mix of 6 red and purple gems for each Galvania ally. So it creates red and purple. The weapon uses green and brown. So you need Galvania allies on your team that use red and purple to get any sort of warrant for use out of this whatsoever. So if those things are met, if you have those Galvania allies and they use purple and red at least, a couple at least, then if you've got a team that does that, then yeah, maybe good, but otherwise not particularly. Mace of Galvania. Remove all purple gems with no effect. So these kind of weapons, even though they seem a bit rubbish at first, can be pretty good when fighting, in this case, purple using mana enemies. You can remove all the gems that they like to collect. Then deal a damage to an enemy boosted by the amount of gems removed. And if the enemy is from Galvania, deal double damage. So you need to be fighting a Galvania team that uses mostly purple to make this weapon viable at all. So nothing particularly fantastic there, and certainly Doom Scythe is the far and away best weapon there right now. Alright, onto the troops. Let's take a look at the mythics that are here. Alright, Flame of Anu deals damage to the first 2 enemies boosted by burning and fairy fired enemies. I got this mythic a little while ago. I've never actually used it. It just the damage just isn't enough. The 30 it's magic plus 4 basically. Damage to the first 2 enemies. The third trait does kind of help it out a bit. Burn and fairy fire a random enemy when matching 4 or more gems, because the damage is boosted by that, but it still isn't actually that fantastic. And 24 mana cost as well. There's just better choices around, and that's why you do not see Flame of Anu in many teams. Is just not that great. I'm not going to go over all the ones that are here all the time. And Sir Quentin Hadley is somehow mixed in with the mythics, as is Viper. Champion of Guard. Gains a big chunk of armor, and if there's 13 or more skulls, give double the armor. So that could be massive if there's a big amount of skulls on the board at once. Then create a mix of 22 blue and red gems. He uses red himself, so the red is going to feed himself, and you need obviously blue other allies to actually get a benefit of that. Really, really good tank in first place. He's one of the only troops in the game, I think, with the reduction of spells by 50% and a really big reduction in armor at the same time. He's got both spell block, reduced damage from spells by 50%, and reduced damage from skulls by 60%. So really tanky in first place. And Blessing of Guard, all red allies gain 1 to all stats at the start of each turn. It's okay, if not spectacular. And 20 mana cost is pretty low for that, so not too bad, and can work really well in certain teams. Viper is a legendary. This is the last 2. Doomclaw. Sounds like it's going to be really good on paper, doesn't it? Deal damage to an enemy boosted by enraged allies with separate 25% chances to devour the next enemy above and below. Apart from that, devour chance just never seems to work with this thing. I don't know what's going on with the maths in this game sometimes, but sometimes I've cast this thing 10 times and maybe got like 2 devours total, and it's like, and I've tried it many times and I don't know what's going on with it, but that devour just does not seem to work as often as that percentage chance should suggest. Indigestible, immunity to devour is pretty handy itself. Gain magic, 1 magic for each brown ally is okay. And enrage a random ally on 4 or 5 gem matches is actually quite decent, because enrage does extra damage. But as for the spell itself, sounds like it should be good, but in practice it just doesn't seem to be. Stonehammer. Right, stun and burn all enemies, create a mix of 22 red and brown gems, and gain a bunch of life. Very, very tanky in first place, especially with that third trait. Reduce damage from skulls by 80%. Stoneheart, gain 1 life for each brown ally is fairly decent. As is Fortitude, immune to stun, poison, disease, deathmark, lycanthropy, and devour. So very good for stunning all allies and Stunning all allies, that would be a bit mean. Stunning all enemies and burning all the enemies as well, especially in a team that's going to use that burn mechanic to get extra damage. And then a really good mix of red and brown to actually charge the team up. He uses brown himself, so that will actually start charging him. But a good tanky troop in first place. When I first got him, I thought he was actually a bit rubbish, but the more troops you get in the game, it actually works better with certain other troops. And he is actually quite decent. I don't mind Stonehammer. I like him now more a few years later after I first got him than I did actually at first, which is a bit weird. Right, now on to the Legendaries. Sir Quentin Hadley. Very posh sounding name, Mr. Hadley. Converts purple gems to yellow and green to skulls. So very specific on those colour changes, but very, very good in certain teams. Then deal damage to 2 random enemies. Really, really cool thing about him is Griffin Commander. All knight allies start with 50% mana. Also armoured, reduced damage from skulls by 25%, and a basic first trait of allied knights gain 2 armour. So really good in a knight team for that 50% start to knights. And the conversions, if they work in your favour, can make this a really, really good troop. Do like that troop a lot. Viper. Deals damage to an enemy, poison and charm them. Yeah, it's alright. It's nothing fantastic. You can select that enemy who you hit. Charm can be powerful if it's in the right team against high-powered opponents, but it's not a troop that's actually particularly great, and the traits are nothing spectacular either. Here we got left Kraken and Tesla. Tesla! Wow, what a troop this is. Deals 8 true scatter damage boosted by all ally and enemy armor. Now the cool thing about this is it's not a spell which is affected by your magic level. You could be level 1 or level 1 million in this game. You could have played it for like 10 minutes or 10 years. It's not even out for 10 years yet. Skip that. But you know what I mean. And anyway, but this will still do the same basic attack boosted by all ally and enemy armor regardless of your level. So that is a really good thing about Tesla. Super, super powerful in certain teams. And I usually do say do not craft legendaries because they get pulled far, far easier in normal chests than a mythic does. But I would go against the rule on this one and say Tesla, if you don't have it and you're an early player and you have the diamonds, go get Tesla. She's absolutely fantastic. Totally worth having. Basically a mythic level troop in certain teams and far better in many teams than many mythics are. So absolutely superb troop. Almost feel like giving my mythic pick of the week to someone that's not actually a mythic, which is a bit weird and kind of against the rules, but yeah, she is that good. The traits, allied mechs gain 2 life is okay. Gain 2 armor on 4 or 5 gem matches is again just okay. And allied mechs gain 5 attack and armor. So yeah, the trait's nothing special, but the spell really is. So Tesla, absolutely love her. Kraken. Loved this troop as an early and mid-level player. Absolutely loved it. I remember actually sticking Kraken in the team and it pulling me through many, many fights. Deals damage to the last 2 enemies, then creates 8 blue gems, and then there's a 35% chance to devour the last enemy. So that does actually seem fair on that 35% chance. It does come in roughly 1 in every 3 chances on average, roughly, in my experience with it. Really good troop. And Devour is so good because basically it destroys that troop and adds their attack, armor and life to your own, which could make you really, really powerful if this is in first place. Immunity to stun is fairly handy. Gain 2 life on 4 or 5 gem matches. I remember Tentacles being a really big deal as well when I was an early player. Dealing 3 damage to all enemies on 4 or 5 gem matches doesn't sound a lot now as a late level player or end game player. But I remember getting 2 of these and putting both 2 of these in the team, and that became 6 damage to all enemies on 4 or 5 gem matches, and that just won games on its own when you got a few gem matches, and it was like some 4 matches in a few places. And yeah, love Kraken. Got a soft spot for Kraken. It's a big orange octopus, which looks like it's wearing a hat, bizarrely. But yeah, fantastic troop. Right, so the mythic pick of the week on the troops actually goes to Tesla. But I can't do that because it's not actually a mythic. But out of the ones here, it's absolutely not Doomclaw. Sorry, sounds good, but it's just not. It doesn't seem to work enough. Flame of Anu just doesn't do enough damage, even when boosted. And Champion of Guard, it's really close between Champion of Guard and Stonehammer. It's virtually a toss of a coin, really, but I'm going to give it to Stonehammer. Stonehammer, this is not a very good mix of mythics this week. None of them are that fantastic, but Stonehammer is a really, really good tank in first place. Can generate a ton of mana, and that stun is really handy as well, as is that reduced damage from skulls by 80%. So the mythic pick of the week goes to Stonehammer. There it is. There's my Soulforge review. Later on I'll be looking at the event team and the journey, which is going to be interesting. So check back for that later on. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Bye for now.